LeBron James led the Los Angeles Lakers recently to their 17th NBA title. And of course, LeBron went from high school right to the NBA because of one man, Spencer Haywood. Now, it's not known as the Spencer Haywood Rule, but it really should be. And my buddy Spencer Haywood is here, and Spencer has a book out, The Spencer Haywood Rule. Now, a lot of people forget that Spencer went to the Supreme Court to challenge the NBA so he could be an underclassman and come into the league. It's an honor to bring in Spencer Haywood. Spencer, thanks so much for being with me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me today. And it's a great day. It's a great day for basketball. I just witnessed something very special this year with the NBA being in the bubble where players put their lives on the line. And and you don't know the long-term effect of COVID. So we just watched something very special. We watched some camaraderie-ness that, being in the bubble like you were when you were in high school, junior high school, or in college, where you had to rely on each other. And they have a message that they're getting out for our people, that we need to make a stand. And this is for all people, because it wasn't just for Black folks. It's just making history aware, making people aware of the history and the knowledge that we have done for so many years, but it's been hidden. So I'm very proud of those guys. But the book itself tells you the story of my rise from Silver City, Mississippi, all the way to the Supreme Court, and on from the Supreme Court to my marriage to Iman, from Iman on through. So let me just tell you a little bit about each chapter, a little feel for them, so you can so the reader could get a feel for it. I was born in abject poverty in Silver City, Mississippi, to indentured slavery there. And I know we're talking as if it was back in the 1800s, but no, it wasn't. I was born in 1949. So, and I was born in a cotton field. We picked cotton from sun up to sundown. My whole family did. No one could leave, because we were just part of the sharecropping feeling of what had happened in the past. And so I grew up there. And Mac, sometime I often wondered, was God trying to prepare me for what I was doing? Because I had seen so much racism, so much everything, that sexism, everything, because I couldn't drink out of the water fountains. I couldn't go to the bathroom. I couldn't do any of these things in Silver City. And I was picking cotton from sun up to sundown, using both hands to pick, dragging a sack that weighed 100 pounds of cotton. And when I left from Mississippi to Detroit, all of that came in handy, because I'm playing against the city players, and they were used to working for an hour and a half, 2 hours at max, 3 hours at the most. And there I was wanting to play 12 hours a day, because I'm used to working in the field. And I had left hand, right hand movement, because I had been picking that cotton. I was dragging that sack at 100 pounds. So my body had developed bigger and better than the other players. So it paid off in that aspect. And the city of Detroit was in desperate need to win a Class A state championship. And so I was there to try to erase that, because we had a drought for 35 years. And in those 35 years, man, it was just horrible. The city of Detroit did not win a Class A state champion. So we won that. And I was like, wow, now I have to go off to college and do all of these things. And at that time, right after high school, my first year in college, where the Olympics never allowed a player to come and play and play basketball out of after your freshman year. They allowed me to come because we had a boycott of the '68 Olympics by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and some of the other players like Wesley Unseld, Elvin Hayes, and so on. And so they picked this 19-year-old kid, or as they were saying, the 19-year-old kid is going to save America. How can he do that? That was Howard Cosell back in the day. And so
and you did it.
Yeah, I did it, and I set records. I set the most points in the history of the Olympics, the most rebounds in the history of the Olympics, and also the highest field goal percentage that still stands. And so going through that Olympic experience, I got a chance to hang out and spend a lot of time with Thomas Smith and John Carlos. And my hanging buddy was Big George Foreman, because we were the two country boys, so to speak. And we just wanted to eat the food out of the commissary. It was like trying to kill it. So, young guys, man, you're trying to get all of the food. And so when we saw Tommy and John finish their race, and they saluted to America, to African Americans back home, that we are in solidarity with you. I mean, the Olympic Committee and Avery Brundage, they threw them out of the Olympic Village, and it hurt me so dearly, because my friends was being thrown out of the village, and the way they treated them, people throwing things on them and yelling at them, you traitors, you American traitors, and so on. So, and then I heard later on when they arrived back in California, it was the same similar attitude about how they treated them. So I said, well, whenever I get a chance, and because Kareem had made a stand, Jim Brown, Bill Russell, all of those guys in 1968, I think it was in Cleveland, they took the picture and did something for human rights there. I said, when I get my chance, I'm gonna show them what a cotton picker can do. And so, and lo and behold, I went away to college. When I came back after winning the gold medal, I came back to Detroit, and my opportunity came, and I had an opportunity to go to the ABA. I took them up on that opportunity, and once I got into the ABA, I was able to prove that a young guy could play basketball, because the stigma was at that time was that a young player could not play in the pros because their body hadn't matured. They were not mature. So I proved them wrong by averaging 30 points and 20 rebounds in my first season in the ABA. And I was Rookie of the Year, leading scorer, leading rebounder, MVP of the league. And Denver says, oh my God, we got a great player. The ABA band together and said, we're going to make him the highest paid player in professional basketball. And sure enough, they did on paper, but in reality, they did not. And what they did is they gave me a fraudulent contract, a contract that would, have me working for them from age 50 to age 70 after my playing career. And that's when, but also if the stock market would pay the 1.9 for me waiting for 50 years in contract. So it was a fraudulent contract. And then I met this Jewish loyalty gentleman who has been in the civil rights, and he was the owner of the Seattle Supersonics. And he said, let's take on the NBA. Let's take on this case, because if we don't, the NBA is going to lose out to the ABA with all of the young talent. So I said, well, let's do it, because I want to play and I don't want to sit out another year. And so I had one more year of eligibility left, because before I came along, you had to wait for 4 years after your high school class had graduated before you could enter into the NBA. And so I filed suit for the rights to play, and the NBA filed suit to stop me from playing. So I played my first 10 games, and then they got an injunction to stop me from playing the next 10 games. Then I got an injunction to play the next game,
back.
the next 10, and back and forth. And so we were playing the great Chicago Bulls, and Chet Walker is a Hall of Famer too.
Said, and Chet will.
Yeah. Chet said, well, I hurt my ankle. I mean, he was working, the owners had him do this thing. It wasn't Chet's behavior at all. But he said that, well, I hurt my ankle while Spencer was down there warming up. And the Chicago Bulls says, well, he owes us $600,000. This is in 1970 and 71. So they sued me for $600,000. Then I end up going to Cincinnati, and playing against Oscar and the great Cincinnati Royals in that year. And I don't know if Oscar was there, but I think so. But they put me out. I didn't get a chance to play. So they put me out into the snow. I stayed out into the snow. And that's after people had walked all over me and threw things on me and called me all of the names that I knew in Mississippi that I hadn't forgotten about, but I knew about
Right.
them.
So
And
people were that upset at you just because you were able to play. It doesn't make much sense that the people are throwing things at you because you're able to play basketball. You went to court, you won it. They just didn't want to accept that you beat the NBA in court.
yeah, that was part of it. But also you got to have to remember that the NC2A had their fingers on the button as well, because they were thinking that this would infringe upon the money that they are making off of the athletes. So if they are not there for 4 years, then this is the enemy. Spencer Haywood is an enemy. So they send
Right.
out their people too to create havoc. And lo and behold, when I got all the way to the Supreme Court, and that's when Thurgood Marshall and all of the other justices, I won the case 7-2, and he won. I won it under the Sherman Antitrust Act, which
Right.
states that you cannot prohibit a person in America from making a living, irregardless. And at the age of 18, they says, well, you can't do it because of the fact that if you do this, then you're going to have to stop veterans from going to the army, or the new army kids, because they were going in at 18. How could you just discriminate between the two? And
Right.
this man has truly a hardship, and that's why the rule was called a hardship in the beginning, because I had a hardship. My mom and my family was still picking cotton and chopping cotton for $2 a day in Silver City, Mississippi. So I won the case, and then it
How did you
opened up.
feel? How did you feel when you get
I
the phone
felt the
call that
victory.
you won? Yeah.
Yeah, I felt the victory, but I didn't feel the freedom, because the veterans didn't support me, because the union for the NBA, they were like, no, we don't want you driving us out of the league, because that's the propaganda that they were sold. And so lo and behold, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar stood up for me and said, hey, he won his case, let's play. And that's when everybody else said, well, we got these new guys, Haywood, Jabbar, and all of them coming in. This is a new breed. So let them lead. And we did lead. And so we just started playing. So for all of these years, for 50 years, the NBA, the PA, the Players Association, the players do not know this story. They don't know this history, because when you do something like I did, and another gentleman who was at the Supreme Court with me at that time too was Curt Flood.
Oh,
Curt Flood,
yes.
the baseball, had to leave the country. He left the United States and lived in the islands, and then he came back home, and hoping that the Major League Baseball players were recognizing what he had done, and they didn't. So he just passed on, And
Right.
that was a sad thing.
Now, I know you've had a chance to talk to some youngsters like LeBron
hmm
and Carmelo Anthony. What do they say when they find out you are the reason that they were able to come to the league and not going 4 years into college?
They're just not learning it. This book has opened their eyes. It was down in the bubble with the players. Mark Spears and Gary Washburn was there with them. Adam Silver is there pushing the book and telling them, you got to read this book. This is important history. And right now with Black Lives Matter and Black History Matter, it's just at the right time. And we didn't plan it at this time. It's beyond me and beyond Mark and Gary, because it is a higher power that's in control of all of this. So they once they started learning. I mean, these guys are hitting me up. They're getting my number and saying, well, what? Tell me more about it. So I'm talking with the players, and one in particular, LeBron, is now getting the idea that this guy did this, and he was sort of like me. And I was
Right.
like, yeah, there was a LeBron before it was a LeBron. And that guy is Spencer Haywood, a young
Hey,
dude that did it. So,
yeah, hey,
and
where can
Adam
everybody get?
Silver,
And Adam Silver's been great. Where can we
go
get
ahead.
this book? Where can people
Yeah,
get this book?
you can get this book on Amazon. You can get it at all of your bookstores. We have something that we're getting ready to do with LeBron and all of the young players. We are trying to work out a way to get all of these books and pay for them to all of the black bookstores throughout the country, so
Oh,
that they will have to, so they can stay in the business,
hmm,
because this pandemic has been so hard on our black business. And so, and we're going to give them away.
yeah. Spencer, I know we
Nah,
got to go
we're gonna
soon.
sell them, but
Yeah, we're gonna get to the
yeah,
stores. Hey, what was it like when
yeah.
you got the phone call? You're one of the greatest players ever. You went through hell to be one of the greatest players ever. You get the phone call. You're going to the Hall of Fame. What was that phone call like?
Oh man, that was like awesome, because I look at my case like Nelson Mandela, but it was unlike Nelson Mandela, because of the fact that I had to wait 27 years before they would allow me to come in. So when I got the call, I was sitting around with my young daughter Isis, who was a student at UNLV, and we live here in Las Vegas, and we just sit on the couch and just cried and cried and cried, because I always wanted to be in the Hall of Fame. I wanted to be a part of that group of people. And so it was just an awesome time. And David Stern, Adam Silver, the New York Knicks, all of these people made it happen. Charles Barkley was my main man to make it happen. He stood up for me and said, this is a travesty. We need to make a difference, and we need to do something about it. So those were my people. And Adam Silver right now has been my big promoter. Michelle Roberts as from the Players Association. It's just a time of bliss for me, and
hmm
when you go through life and you wonder when will it happen, and now it's happening, and I'm just so grateful.
Well, I'm grateful that you took the time to write this book and to take time to be with me. It was a great read. I want everybody to go get it. The Spencer Haywood Rule, and that should be the name of the rule, not one and done. It should, or early entry. It should be the Spencer
Right.
Haywood Rule. And Spencer, thank you so much for taking time being with me. Continue success and congratulations on this book because it's a winner.
All right. Thank you.